there. So as our second evaluator this evening, we'll have Rob evaluating Scott's speech. Rob, all you.
Great, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. So Scott, I've evaluated you several times on several of your speeches, but I have to tell you, this is probably the most explosive speech that I've seen you give ever. So good start there. But in all seriousness, there were two parts, obviously, of your speech. There was what I call part one of the introduction, and part two was more the questions and answers. And you asked me to evaluate you based upon you staying in, about sincerity and the composure during your questions. And I see both of those things that you asked me to look for being more focused on the second half of the presentation, as the first part was more of, I looked at it as almost like an introduction with video. And a little feedback on the introduction, I thought, there was a good explanation of what went on, a good explanation of who you were, the role, the situation that was taking place, followed up by the video that took place about the whale. I would have liked in that first part a better use of pause, just 1 or 2 seconds more to add just a little bit more impact. And I know that's always hard as a speaker because it just feels like forever when you do pause. So a little bit of pause. And also in that first part of the presentation, staying in role just a little bit more. There was one part right before you showed the video where you said, if you know what's going to happen, don't give it away. And I was like, is that Scott speaking or is that the role speaking? So I kind of was a little bit confused there, but so that's part one. Now, part two of the speech that you had was about the Q&A and the questions that came at you there. And I would have to say that overall you did well. You kept your composure. You were sincere in talking about the business owner, the car person, giving some sort of compensation back to those people, showing sincerity that you really cared what was going on there. There were a couple questions where you responded. You started out, the first thing you said was, well, I'm just a public relations person. And I think that's okay to say, although I think it makes the person who's asking the question, makes their question less important because you're kind of like pointing the finger somewhere else, saying, hey, it's not me, I'm just the public relations person. So, I think not answering that way, just taking it on as a public relations person. The job, I think, as a public relation person is tough. And I think you just gotta, kind of step up to those questions and accept that department that you're representing, that there was a mistake that took place with the issue that took place. But overall, I thought it was well prepared. You obviously had the video that you had to queue up and kind of work in. So I think there was some good preparation there, good setup, good delivery, and good closure. And you did great on the questions as well. So nice job, Scott.